This is Things Police See, first-hand accounts, with your host, Steve Gould.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. I'm your host, Steve Gould, as the gentleman said. Thank you for being here, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the recent ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. I love that. Please keep them coming. I want to get up to 1,000. I have like 794, which is awesome, but it's still embarrassing for me that I don't have 1,000. I see all these other podcasts with 1,000, and they're not half as good as this podcast. So you can imagine how embarrassing it is. So I appreciate that if you keep them coming. I'm really excited to tell you guys about a new sponsor for the Things Police See podcast. It's a company called Avid, and they have a unique take on firearm holsters. If you've got different caliber firearms you like to carry, or you don't like adjusting your holster and firearm every time you get in and out of your vehicle, you need to check out their modular holster system, the Clip Lock. Clip Lock is comprised of a base that attaches anywhere you normally carry and holsters that snap on and off of the base using Avid's patented design. It's never been easier to transition from a subcompact to a full-size weapon regardless of caliber, make, or model. The system also works with Avid's Lockbox, allowing you to store your firearm comfortably, securely, and accessibly while you drive. Avid proudly supports service members, veterans, and law enforcement officers, donating a portion of their profits to organizations like the FOP, and their modular holster system is made in America using only the highest quality materials. Pre-orders for this amazing product are launching in time for the holiday season. Learn more by visiting avidcompany.com. That's AVID company.com. Supporting our sponsors supports Things Police See. Guys, I'm so happy to have them on board. The holster is amazing. I'm in the queue to get one. I'm the kind of guy that I carry all the time. I usually carry a 380 or 9mm. But then if I come home and I want to go for a walk and we got moose and bear and all that stuff in the woods, I want to clip on a larger caliber. You can do that, no problem. It adjusts to multiple carry positions. And also driving in the car is a bummer with a holster on a lot of times, especially if you're a little chubby like I am. The ability to take it off and stow it and then reattach it without like undoing your belt and adjusting and all that stuff is incredible. I'm so excited to get my hands on one of these, and you guys really need to go check it out. So guys, today, huge resume. I jotted out a few things. I'm not going to do it justice, but in short, we're talking 47 years in law enforcement. He retired commander of a county homicide unit outside of Chicago. He and his team have investigated over 1,000 deaths, putting over 400 convicted killers behind bars. Also, side note, this could be a whole other interview on itself. He's an expert in cold cases. He owns a company, Corbett Investigations, and also Corbett Threat Assessment Consultants. The guy's been doing it a long time. He is, if you Google him, you see him. He's all over his area, and as just an expert in solving crimes and kicking ass. So I'm honored to have him. Without further ado, let me bring on Tim Corbett. Sir, thank you for coming on.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very good.
I'm good. How about you?
I'm great. I'm honored to have you, sir. You just can't stop, can you? You're still doing it.
Take a look at me. I'm a knuckle dragging ape. What else am I going to do?
It's fantastic. The fact that you're still solving crimes and even getting involved in homicides, right? But you're like as a consultant.
Yeah, through my business, Corbett Investigations, I've been hired by 4 different families to work on their homicide cases. A lot of the stuff that I do in my private stuff, I'm not following somebody's wife around because they think she's goofing around. I don't get involved in that. I'm helping out with major things still. And I recently started a cold case investigation unit over with the Mishawaka Police Department, and we were welcomed with open arms. I got 3 other police officers, retired police officers, to volunteer their time, so they get us for free, all our expertise. And we got sworn in, so we're police officers from the time we get there to the time we leave, and we have police powers, and it's a good deal. They get us for free.
Unreal. And so, Tim, there's no burnout with you. This is not getting old. You're not sick of it. Because homicides and high level crimes like that, you said in an interview yourself I saw on TV, you said, you saw all kinds of things, including things people don't want to see all the time for all those years. Hasn't taken a toll. You're still pushing ahead.
Well, look at my hair. I used to look like Elvis. Now I look like a chia pet. But does it take a toll? You wouldn't be human if you didn't think about it.
Sure.
But I have an ability to put it behind my brain and pull a little shade. And when I have to crack it a little bit to get mad or mean or whatever, I can do that. But I refuse to let these cowards win. I refuse to let some of the judicial system beat me down to where I give up. I'm not going to quit. I'm one of those guys, you kick my cage, you know what you're going to get. I'm not an enigma. I'm not somebody that I'm hard to figure out. I tell you what I feel. And I've been lucky enough, honored enough, privileged enough to be able to do this job as long as I have, because I enjoy it. I truly do enjoy it. And to bring closure to people's families after you've seen the stuff that we've seen, and like you said in the beginning, been over 1,000 deaths, and I've seen things you don't even want to think about thinking about. They make the Chucky show look like a punk.
Yeah.
But you don't get to live rent free in my head. You just don't.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I think is if I ever make myself go to that headspace, which we do when we see these stories nationally or locally about someone being murdered, especially maybe a child or a loved one or a very innocent person, not knowing what happened would torture me. Like not knowing how they came, no closure. That must feel so good to get that to people.
Well, I have been involved in solving 32 cold case murders, one going back 42. And when I say this isn't Tim Corbett knows everything. I'm one portion of the team. If Tim Corbett, do my portion of the work, that'll be successful. If you, Steve, do your portion of the work, you're an I. And then the techs do it. And everybody else does their portion. We're all I's. And then it comes together as a we, and everybody wins. I don't like the term, when it's done, now the victims will have closure. You never have closure. You have an answer and an ending, but never a closure. Because if you had that, you would go, okay, Grandma got dead. We know Bill did it. We're done. I'm never going to think about it. It doesn't work like that. It just does not work like that.
Yeah, I hope to never learn that lesson, but I can only imagine. Like you said, working as a team, I've been involved in some investigations where it's, if you're dealing with other moving parts of your PD or even the DA's office, and there are problems with communication or things aren't getting done in a timely way, and you're at one of the head seats in the investigation, it's incredibly frustrating, and it's a great disservice to the victims when they're calling and asking for updates and all that stuff, and you're getting wrapped up with maybe not political, but just the red tape of the legal system and all that BS. So it sounds like you had like you said, the privilege to work with some people that really were a well-oiled machine and could get these things done.
It was. If I have to throw you out the door to go do your job, I don't want you.
Right.
I ran a very relaxed atmosphere. I let men and women be men and women to do their job. That's how you're a leader. What do you need? What can I do to get it for you? What kind of education do you need? What can I do to get that for you? What kind of equipment do you need? What can I do to get that for you? And then when it comes time to go, I went with my guys all the time. I was out at the scenes. If we had to go arrest somebody, we didn't call somebody else in. We got the guys, we got a plan, and we went and got them. And that's how you lead. I'm old school. I don't do it by a voting process. I'm not real concerned. I'm very comfortable with who I am. I learned who I was a long time ago, and I don't have to figure it out from a boy or a girl if this is good or that's bad.
Right.
I know how to lead, and I know what needs to be done, and I let good people do great things. And it's very simple, but too many times people that are supervisors, not leaders, because there's a big difference, think that the only way to be important is by following the rule book, and your shoes aren't shined enough. I'm going to give you a gig. I'm going to write you up. I think you get more out of people when you sit down and say, look, what the hell were you thinking when you did that? You're going to get killed. You're going to get somebody else killed. Here's how you do it tactically. Here's what we do. And you teach them, you train them, you give them a life's lesson, and you keep them alive. Yeah,
absolutely. I've always appreciated having supervisors that they were not about pushing it up the line. They were more about, not that I screwed up a lot, but there was times when I needed some guidance, and they would leave it on their level. They're not taking it they're not looking for discipline. They want to correct what you did so that the next time it wasn't about putting pen to paper. It was more about they wanted to help you, and you needed some correction. It sounds like you were that type of guy.
Well, and you lead from the front. I know, when I was commander of SWAT, there was only, I think, 2 incidents when I wasn't one of the first 2 through the door. And I know that with many different organizations, the team leader or the commander actually sits in the truck and kind of directs stuff. I was always, if you're putting skin on the line, I'm putting skin on the line. And I think that's how you get people to follow you. To tell you you're the first through the door, you're the second, getting the stick, here's how we're going to do it, and I don't have my butt on the line, to me, that's not the way to do it, because I knew my people were trained well enough that if, I caught one right between the horns, they're not going to stop. They're going to go on. They're going to push through. They're going to follow up on a mission. They're going to take care of business, then come back and do whatever they have to for me. But if you're going to be a leader, lead and have the guts to take the hit if it comes to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you made a jump earlier, not earlier, but like in the early 2000s. We spoke about briefly about you were at South Bend, and then you became the head of a homicide unit at a different PD or at the county level. From a leadership standpoint, I'm interested to know, how difficult is that? Because now these aren't guys that you necessarily came up the ranks with or who already knew you. Maybe they'd heard of you, but now you're in place as a boss at a different place. Is that what are some of the things you? Is there anything in particular that made that transition easier? Did you have a meeting and obviously introduce yourself and let people know how you operate, or what's the best way to do that?
Well, I was lucky. I was a captain on South Bend and captain of the afternoon shift. And I did a lot of training in the area. I had trained approximately a little over 10,000 police officers in various disciplines. So I knew most everybody.
Okay.
They knew me. They knew how I was. And on August 24th, 1997, a police officer, Paul DeGooch, was killed. I was his captain. And I owed it to Paul's family, in my opinion, to go and work on that case. The County Metro Homicide Unit already had the case solved, but there were some other things that needed to be done. So I retired because I was offered the commander's job in County Metro Homicide. That was for St. Joseph County, Indiana. Mm-hmm. So the guys that were there, I knew. There were 1 or 2 of them that I'm sure when they heard my name and then I was coming over, I'm sure their butt ate their underwear and they were ready to find the exit door, which, that's fine.
Sure.
I get it.
Problem takes care of itself.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do it. But we had a meeting first day and, I let them know what was expected. And then from that point on, it was just sitting down with everybody and what do we need to get? How do we need to do things? What's the problems? What's good? What's bad? Let's just kind of put it together and get it done. And was hit the ground running, and then about a year and a half later, the prosecutor that I worked for got beat. So I went on and did expert witness testimony for officers and use of force cases for the city on, the usual frivolous lawsuits that you yelled at somebody and their feelings got hurt and they won $20,000 or whatever.
Right.
And then in 2003, I came back and took over commander, and it's really pretty seamless. I don't see that it's that big of a deal. I think there's too much made out of leadership. I really do. All these schools and all.
Yeah, it's a huge cottage industry now. Like, be a leader. This is
watch the shiny thing in the air and forget about what's really down here. Just treat men and women like men and women. Lead from the front. Do it right. No lying, no cheating, no stealing, no doing anything improper. If you do, you know what's going to happen, and just get it done. It's not that hard.
All right, I like it. Sounds like a very common sense approach. That's good. That's great. Side question: you own a consultant investigative company. Now, I've known guys in the upper echelons like you're at that retired and became private detectives in my state, Massachusetts. And they were doing stuff like working for the defense council. Like they were, going to like OUI scenes and taking pictures of like the street lights. And was it really level where they did field sobriety and stuff like that? That's gotta, to me, that seemed like that'd be incredibly hard to do after being a cop for so long.
Well, I can tell you, I'm a policeman, not a prostitute. I won't do defense work. I don't do defense work. And I could make a lot of money doing it, defending child molesters and rapists and murders and all that kind of stuff. But how do I, after 47, I'll be in my 48th year next month, how do I stay on this side of the fence? And then because somebody wants to purchase my expertise for X amount of dollars, jump the line, and I help get somebody off that kills your mom or rapes your sister or molests that little kid. There is no way in hell I'm going to do that. So I select cases, and my cases are unsolved homicides.
Right.
I work those. I help get kids that have been abused. I help, those kinds of things. But, if the neighbor's wife is doing the neighbor down the street, I don't care.
So you're not prostituting yourself out for these defense guys then?
No, I won't. Now, having said that, I've defended police officers that have been wrongly accused because you have all these idiots, including people called the president and a guy named Pete Buttigieg, who used to be our mayor, and those kind of idiots calling police systemic racists and all. What person with any kind of common sense believes that a cop wakes up on a beautiful day and says it's 80 degrees out, the breeze is blowing, God, I hope I get to kill somebody today. I've really wanted to do that so I can be scrutinized by a bunch of people that can't even spell police or homicide, wouldn't have the balls to go out and even get in a squad car, going to tell cops what they need to do when somebody's trying to kill them. I'll help cops as long as they're correct. I'm not going to lie or cover up, but I help cops, and I have in the past, and I'll go anywhere to help a cop.
That's awesome. That's great. We had the Blue Line lawyer on here not too long ago, and he does a lot of his he donates a lot of his legal time to helping cops out because it's so over the top now. Like you were saying, it's like there's so much Kool-Aid being drunk that it's like there's so many people I know in the periphery of my life, friends of friends and things, that you can meet at a party or you just start talking with them, and it's like, even if they know you're a police officer, they'll be like, yeah, but like we know that like policing is basically based in racism. And you're like, how did you come to this conclusion? Because you watch CNN all day and these are now the thoughts in your head. It's like you don't have your own, the critical thinking is completely out the window. Doesn't that sound funny to you? Like that's true? I don't think that's true. And and all these people know police officers personally that they like. They're like, well, I know him. He's one of the good ones. The 99.9% are one of the good ones. Policing has an extremely low rate of people that go off the rails compared to other professions. Extremely low because the backgrounds are so intense. That's the by design policing has but we get the biggest spotlight because we take your freedom and we can take your life on the street. So those two things give us a spotlight. But I'm with you, man. Like I can't even and I live in Massachusetts, so you have to have some sympathy for me. The amount of the mental jumping jack or gymnastics you have to do to believe some of this garbage it's completely insane.
Well, but it's got to be true because it's on TikTok. It's got to be true because it's on Facebook. And I heard from somebody that could be possibly thinks that they know what's going on. But those are the ones that if you have a different opinion than what I do, you're a homophobe, you're sexist, you're a racist, you're a xenophobe, you're some kind of transphobe, you're a phobe. Instead, I have a different opinion than what you do. And I'm 68 years old, and I've been through a hell of a lot. I've been through police shootings. And the stuff that I've seen and the stuff that I've done, I've earned my opinion. And if you don't like it, then leave. But if you think you're going to back me down by calling me a phobe or something, this old man's still got a couple left in him. I'm not going to take too much. You kick my cage, you know what you're going to get. And I'm not one to capitulate because it's politically correct. I'm not going to roll over because then if you don't stand up for what you think is right and what's correct and educate some of these idiots on what really happens, then you're doing a disservice not only to you, your family name, and other cops.
Absolutely.
One of the biggest things I used to hate, and I'm sure you've had it, and every cop that's listened to it, you get a call to a place of a family fight or whatever. and, nobody makes an arrest or the guy's gone. If, South Bend 23, if we have to come back here again, we're taking somebody with us. Okay. If you got a legal lawful arrest, if you believe a crime has been, is being, or is about to be committed, pull somebody out of their shoes, introduce them to gravity, cuff them up, and get them out of there. Why would you wait to go back to where now maybe this guy can ambush? Now, 3 weeks ago, there's been 63 ambushes of policemen where people have actually sat and processed and thought and waited and baited somebody in or called somebody in and shot us. And it's because of these idiots that talk about systemic racism and all that. If you think this job's so easy, come on down and sign up, pumpkin.
Yeah, I'm with you, man, 100%. I love what you said. I've earned my opinion. With your permission, I will use that myself on the show.
There's a patent pending on that. I may have to get some gratuities, but no, I'm kidding.
That's beautiful, man. I love that. Tim, can we go way back to Patrolman Corbett? First started, the first call you went on that gave you a little spike of adrenaline, a call that showed you that this stuff's for real.
Well, when I first came on, I was a power lifter. I was bigger. I was probably about 211 when I had a 19.5-inch neck, if you can imagine that on a 5'8" frame. So, I'm surprised, they weren't throwing peanuts or something at me because I just look like a knuckle-dragging ape. And, I say that all the time. But they put me in narcotics. And I was an athlete, and I didn't know anything about dope. I knew nothing about dope. Never smoked dope. Even when I got on to Department 75, it was one of the first questions they asked, you ever smoked dope? I said, no. And the guy goes, never. And I go, no, never. I was an athlete. I take the polygraph, and he goes, God, you really didn't. But so they put me in narcotics, which, I didn't get that part. But probably one of the first ones that I had a guy challenge me. I was going to buy some dope, and I had to learn about, the street and what all the names and stuff were.
Sure. And
this guy was a pretty good sized guy, and I had made up some BS story that I was in Vietnam and I don't do the dope. I always take it home to my girlfriend. And, when I was in Vietnam, I cut people's throats and all. I was lying my ass off, but they looked at me and thought, this dude. So I went to buy dope off this guy, and he started blowing up, and he had a gun laying next to him. And, he was making moves like he wanted to try and get closer to that gun. Now I had one on me, but, it's going to be first one of the draw, and I was going to be second. So I had to do a lot of BSing on that. That was probably the very first time that there was a real pucker factor.
Yeah.
But I was able to talk, and I bought the dope and got out of there. And, the guy was so stupid. He was a little afraid of me afterwards, and he sent me a dime of dope. And I took it outside and I scraped like 5 cents off of it. And I went back and beat on the door. Now he's heard all these stories. And I, started cussing at him. Like, man, you screwed me on my dope. You only gave me a nickel. You only gave me a nickel worth of dope. I'm supposed to get a dime. He goes, man, I'm sorry. He goes and cuts another nickel and gives it to me. So I got 2 deliveries for the price of one. And then when it came time to arrest him, I let him know who it was. But, I've been in shootouts. Like I said earlier, I was involved in 4 police officer shootings, which resulted in the death of 2 individuals and the wounding of 2 others. So probably the hairiest. Had 2 guys that robbed a McDonald's, and one of them took a hostage. One guy went one way and he got away. He got caught later. But the other guy, he took a hostage, and I got in a foot pursuit, and I was about maybe 100 yards away from him, and I tried to get the guy to, and I'm no hero, trust me, I'm not making it sound like that, but he had the guy in a chokehold, and he had a gun to his head, and I tried to get him to bring the gun around, and maybe the guy could jump on the gun or whatever, but I figured 100 yards away, if he hits me from 100 yards away with a pistol, it's my time. Well, he didn't. Got in a foot pursuit, closed the gap within about probably 15 yards. He went around the corner of a building and hit a fence, and they fell down. So when I came up to the side of the building, I just kept shuffling my feet like I was still running, and I peeked low, and the guy was like this, waiting for me to come around the corner, and he was going to split my wig. Well, about that time, another officer pulled in the alley, and I could see about this much of the suspect. So I had, about this much of an area with a hostage in front of him. and I had a Remington 870 with double-aught buck, so you got 932 caliber pellets.
Big gun. And
I was about maybe 4 yards away, so I knew what the wadding was going to do, and I knew what the pellets were going to do. And he had the gun, so he had means, opportunity, jeopardy, imminent danger, and preclusion. And he had already fired one round at me, so I shot him, and it rolled him. And anytime you're involved in something major like that, you get an adrenaline dump naturally, and your pupils constrict, and that's why your peripheral vision goes from that to tunnel vision. Your auditory may go up, your auditory may go down.
Sure. There's
a whole lot of things that go on. One of the guys said, did you remember hearing that guy scream? I never heard him scream. The guy, when I shot him and knocked him back, obviously he's laying down on his side, and he brought the gun up, and he was going to shoot the guy in the back, so I hit him with the second one in the chest, and I racked a third one, and it wasn't necessary, but there's a good lesson right there. That's why you always, if you're involved in a shooting, you count to 10 before you make an approach. It took that guy over an hour and 15 minutes to die, and he still had means, opportunity, jeopardy, imminent danger, and preclusion. Means, the gun, opportunity, me and you were there. Jeopardy, he shoots, one of us is going to go down. So means, opportunity, jeopardy, imminent danger, means right now, and preclusion, he's predisposed to do what he did.
Yeah.
And
when drugs are involved, their bodies can go and go. And you never know. Like you said, you got to wait. We had a guy on here that blasted a guy with a 45 like 5 times in the chest. He was wrestling with him. Kept going. It's unbelievable.
Yep. Well, and like I said earlier, nobody wants to have to do that, but I am never, ever going to go to your family or somebody else's family and say, I got all the cool equipment, the Oakley glasses and the nice car and all the cool stuff. But when it came time to save your loved one, I didn't have the balls to do it. And your daughter's dead because I'm a coward. I'm no hero by any means, but I would rather take one right here than be a coward. Not going to do it.
Do you remember that scene in Private Ryan? Have you seen Saving Private Ryan?
Part of it, yeah.
Remember the scene where the guys get wrestling the German upstairs and the guy's in the stairwell holding his rifle shaking? He was too afraid to kill the German. That's what you just made me think of, like that. He didn't have the ability to shoot somebody. He was like scared to death. And that's like one of the that's something background investigators used to ask. In interviews, they would ask, do you think you could take a human life if you had to? And some people will honestly answer that and say no. And then you're out. You're disqualified. I mean, you can't be a cop. But they don't really ask that anymore in a lot of places. But I think it's important because in that moment, you're going to be stricken with fear and terror, but that's part of courage. You overcome that and you act appropriately anyways. There's no courage without fear. But they don't, there's a whole lot of things that are wrong with like the new screening process that are coming through for cops. And I think we're going to see the effects of that, unfortunately. But, that's a big thing, having the courage to do that. Now, this was a 12 gauge with buckshot. So that's we don't really shoot. We basically around here anyways do, slugs, I think because of the variable of buckshot. Now they don't want those little balls going out and bouncing off of stuff. But super effective round. And it's like, isn't it like 9 or 10, like 38 caliber size balls? It's a
32 caliber.
It's a big blast.
Oh yeah.
That's unreal that he was, it took 2 of those.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. It's, the thing afterwards, are you strong? You may be strong enough to pull the trigger, but are you strong enough afterwards for the aftermath? You're going to have police officers going to criticize you. Man, I'd have never taken that shot. Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't have been there to begin with. You'd have been home sucking your thumb. So don't critique me because you don't have the courage to do it. And then afterwards, do you become a drunk, a drug user, or you abuser of your wife? Do you treat your kids like crap? Does that sit in your head and percolate? And, am I going to go to hell? What's going to happen? All those kinds of things. So, you can beat yourself up pretty good. And there's some universal things that happen when you're involved in stuff like that. You may have nightmares, sleepless nights. There's a lot of different things. And you have to go back. At least for me, I went back and I walked the scene after, did the reports. And my chief was great. He says, what do you want to do? You want to take time off? So I want to come back to work. I didn't do anything wrong. I did not do anything wrong. So I came back to work, but I went back out and I walked and I walked and I went through it, and I thought, what the hell could you have done different? What could you have done? And I could have stood here and watched this guy kill him, because he did shoot at the hostage when he was down. As a matter of fact, on the back of the hostage's sweater, there was a burn mark where he shot at him. And for God was with this guy, he scooted up just enough that it just burned his sweater, and it didn't hit him. You don't have a choice. Well, you have choices, but you only have one real choice at that point. You have to stop the actions. You have to.
Yeah, I see kind of a trend I'd like your opinion on. I've seen it pop up a few times in the last 6 months where cops are they're putting themselves in danger, and I think it's because of policy and public perception that has been overbearing the last couple of years, where they're being rewarded for like tackling armed people that are clear threat to the public and to officers, or they have a knife or a gun. I'm not really cool with it. Like I think some people earn in a very just way to have their soul extracted from their body. And I'm not really into cops like they going beyond that and trying to stop it it's because the pressure of they don't want to pull the trigger. So they're tackling people with knives and they're getting stabbed themselves. They're getting shot. But hey, it's a win because they subdued the guy. Now he can get the mental health eval that he needs. I don't like it. I think it's bad. I think it's a bad precedent, and I see it starting to happen more and more. Do you notice that?
Yeah, and what does your widow get? She gets a nice folded up flag, and you got cops wearing black stuff on their armbands and across their badge, and looking real solemn and crying and doing all that stuff. But in the end, you're dead. You're not coming back. Not now, not ever, never. It's over, because you're worried about some pissed on a leg politician that's going to critique, or you're going to have some group that wants a citizens review board. Instead of having people go, look, I had two choices, live or die. Those were my two choices. I had two choices. Let that person live or die, the person that they have hostage, or the person that's being shot at, or the person that isn't out of harm's way. You, the bad guy, have made clear, conscious decision choices. You brought the gun. You didn't have to get the gun. You had to go out and seek the gun. You didn't have to carry the gun. You did. You didn't have to pull the gun. You could have dropped it. You did. You didn't have to point the gun. You could have dropped it. You did. You didn't have to pull the trigger. You did. You set in motion a chain of events that resulted in the application of lethal force. And that's what sometimes we don't explain very well. That's where the means, opportunity, jeopardy, imminent danger, and preclusion come in. I don't care how highly trained you are. Here's a perfect example. Point your finger at me. Everybody that's watching this, point your finger at me and cock it like it's a gun. Okay, if I have a gun down to my side right here, I got the gun. Can you shoot me?
Of course.
I haven't pointed it at you.
Oh, as a cop?
Yeah. You're a cop. I'm a bad guy. I got a gun. I'm standing here. We're within 10 feet of each other. Can you shoot me?
No.
Okay. How many times a year you shoot?
How many times a year?
Yeah.
We shoot twice a year.
Okay. SWAT tactics, anything extra?
I'm a firearms instructor. That's about it.
You're a good shot?
Yeah.
Okay. So your gun's cocked. When you see me move, shoot me. Now I'm going to kill you. I'm a bad guy. I'm telling you right now, Steve, I'm killing you. When you see me move, shoot. You can't even tie me. You can't even tie me.
Yeah,
and I
hard.
just told you I'm going to kill you. What bad guy walks up, hi, Officer Steve, I think I'm going to kill you today. It happens like that, and it goes quickly. So those are the kinds of things when you're talking to policemen and you're interviewing them after a shooting like that. How long have you been a policeman? 10 years. How many times a year you shoot? 4 times a year. You have extra tactics? Yes. How many rounds you shoot a year? 4. Do you go out and do extra things? Yes. I'm a firearms instructor. You got SWAT tactics? Yes. How about any kind of handcuffing and that kind of, all that? Now, when you got into the gun battle with that guy, did he walk up and say, Officer Steve, I'm going to kill you today, and I have a gun, and it's right here in my waistband, so get ready because I'm going to light you up? They didn't say that.
Right.
They didn't give you the advantage. So you're, by statistics, you're about 2/3 of a second
always behind
the curve.
Yeah.
You've already been shot once or twice, and you go, oh, crap, that really hurt. I better return fire. So everybody's got to make their own decision. You got that gun down to your side, you have means, opportunity, jeopardy, imminent danger, and preclusion. You better be looking for cover, not concealment. If that's all you can get is concealment, but you better be looking for something to put it between you and him and not backing up and firing. You better be going sideways someplace and getting rounds on target. Now, it's great that you can pound a perfect bunch of X's right here.
Right.
But remember, you're doing minimum damage to minimal organs. If your rounds go here, and all over, you're doing maximum damage to maximum organs.
Oh, they would go all over for me, not by choice.
Well,
it would be a wall.
I will tell you, the situations I was in, I didn't even need a radio. They could have followed the line of P all the way down to where I was at, because that's how it goes. And no big deal. But yeah, there it is a big deal, and it's a very tense. It's a very tense thing. But when cops are involved in this, I always make it a point to talk to any cop that's been involved in a shooting, because I know what it's like. I know, how it's going to go and what to think and how you're going to feel. And I don't want any cop going home and going, I'm going to hell, and blow their head off or give up or say something stupid. If there's anybody out there, I will absolutely I'll give you my number at the end of this thing, my personal cell phone. And any cops have a problem like that, they can call me. I'll talk to them. If they need defense or help or whatever, wherever you're at, I'll go. I hate what cops are going through.
Yeah.
I came along at a good time.
Absolutely.
Of course, probably could have arrested Abe Lincoln when I came around, but I'm old school.
Yeah, my dad was a cop 32 years, and when I was getting into it, he was like, I highly recommend the fire department. He said, because he was a cop in the 70s up through that time, and he said they let us be cops. He said, he was a lieutenant at the end, getting involved in policy, and he was like, man, he didn't like it. It was like his least favorite part of his career. He just I don't like it. I don't like where it's going. It's just becoming harder and harder to do your job. Of course, I did it anyways, because what kid sees his dad in a police uniform home for supper every night is not going to follow that, And I'm glad I did, but you're right. It's really hard. And a good example of that shooting thing. I've never been in a shooting, thankfully, but when they introduced simunitions to us years ago, all of us who did it were it was intense, because we didn't know what it was going to feel like, and these little hard. People don't know it's like paintball, but they're 9mm size, little hard capsules with a detergent that has a color in it. And after the first scenario, they asked all of us, how many rounds did you fire? We pretty much everybody fired to lockback. Nobody, and they gave us all different amounts in our magazines. Nobody knew how many rounds we fired. The whole scene was immediately afterwards was hard to remember. The scenario they put you through, because it was that extra stress factor. And these are not real bullets, but still, I can only imagine in a real shooting what your mind could do, what you could leave out, how you could unintentionally incriminate yourself against something that you didn't break any laws. You're just mind. Who knows what your mind will do under stress? You misremember. You don't remember at all. That's got to.
Well, and that's one of the problems. It's not that you're lying. Did you, Steve? You shoot 3 rounds, or how many rounds did you shoot? I think 3. Well, did you have full administrative load? Yes. How many rounds in your weapon? 13 or whatever it is. You shot 7 times. Why are you saying you shot 3? It's not that you're lying. Your mind, I'm not going to say shuts down, but it closes things out.
Yeah. And
you're concentrating on target acquisition, sight acquisition, trigger press, getting on target, going to cover. Am I doing the right thing by firing my weapon? Am I going to be critiqued? I mean, there's 10,000 things that are going through your head like that. And the people that sit back in a chair like this and make decisions on, I would have done this, I would have done that. How come you didn't shoot him in the foot? How come? Those are people that don't know their butt from an apple. They don't know. Right. And it's not that you're lying. That's why you do a walkthrough and say, okay, here's about where he was at, and here's where I think I fired from, so that we can look for your casings and all that. But you should want to get at least a sleep cycle so you can kind of go through that stuff in your head, because what you say right now tomorrow there could be different things. And some people go, well, how come you didn't say that then? What are you, a liar? No, now things are a little bit more clear. I haven't had that major adrenaline dump. I haven't almost had my life taken from me. I just took a life. I got a hell of a lot of stress on me. So I'm not going to remember, if the light was glistening off the windshield and all that stupid stuff. All I know is he tried to kill me and I protected me and my partner and the citizen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Discover the advantages of the Samsung front-load laundry pairs at Lowe's. These large-capacity washers and dryers are designed for versatility. Stack them, place them side by side, or use pedestals in exciting new colors such as brushed black with rose gold accents. Plus, Wi-Fi capabilities that allow you to control everything from your smartphone. Find the Samsung front-load laundry series at Lowe's today. Home to any possibility.
The always ready for breakfast deal.
Going to bed already?
Yep. Breakfast at Mickey D's tomorrow.
So?
Sooner I go to bed, sooner it'll be morning. Sooner I'll be at Mickey D's.
This is actually brilliant.
You can come too. Turn out that light.
There's a deal for every breakfast strategist at McDonald's.
Start your morning with a $3 bagel breakfast sandwich, available only in the app. Offer valid 1/2 through 1/15/23 at participating U.S. McDonald's. Valid one time per day. McD app download and registration required.
Tim, can you, everybody loves a cold case, including me. Can you talk about one of your more notable cold cases?
Teresa Burns. Teresa Burns was a Mishawaka High School student, 16 years old. She had left school to go home and change her clothing. Teresa had a female friend who had a boyfriend, and that boyfriend's name was Philip Jeans. That's our bad guy. It's the only time you'll hear me say his name. I'll call him a lot of things, but the rest of it's not going to be his proper name because he doesn't deserve it.
Understood.
Teresa had a boyfriend, so the two girls were best friends. The two guys were best friends, so they were a foursome, and you know me, I know you. And anyway, this piece of garbage went over to Teresa's house because he had seen her get off the bus and go home. So it wouldn't be unusual for him to ring the doorbell. Teresa let him in, and our belief is he tried to attack her sexually, physically. Teresa was not one to take that. He pulled out a gun. It was I think it was an RG-22, just not a very good gun. And it was had a cylinder and had an extractor rod in there. It actually held the cylinder in, but many people call it an extractor rod. And as he was firing, the extractor rod fell out, which was found at the scene. Wow. Well, about a week later, his stepfather found a gun between his spring and mattress. Took it to the Mishawaka Police Department, said, I found this underneath a bush, which was a complete lie because there had been rain and the gun wasn't rusted or pitted or anything like that. And he eventually said, I found it under that guy's name. So back then, that was 80 or 81?
Tim, how old are these people, kids?
She was 16.
Wow.
And he was, I think, 17, 18. Okay. Back then, the FBI couldn't make a match on the extractor rod and couldn't make a match on the 22 caliber bullets because you had to have so many lands and grooves and the usual stuff. But this is the gun. Can't write it up that this is the gun, but this is the gun. But we can't put it on paper, but you got the gun. I mean, you're told you got the gun.
Right.
Well, they interviewed him, and, of course, he's a liar, and it went on and on. I have a lot of informants, a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of people trust me, and we started investigating the case, and I saw him one day in front of a restaurant, and I stopped, and I said, hey, I want to talk to you about Teresa's murder. He had a little snicker. He giggled like that, you just want to, yeah. He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. You're not smart enough to get me. And I felt about 3 veins pop in my head. And I said, I'll tell you what, take a look at me. I'll be back. So I worked on the case for 1.5 years with my guys, and everybody did everything. Well, we have a guy at that time. His name was Ray Wolfenbarger. Ray had been a victim of a police officer shooting. Excellent cop. But he was the ballistics guy. Send a gun to Ray. now microscopes from 75 or 81 or 82, maybe it was 88. I don't know. I've done so many of them. But anyway, microscopes have gotten a hell of a lot better, right?
Sure.
So Ray looks at the ballistics. He goes, "That's the gun." I was like, "What? That I'm like, stuttering. That is for sure the gun. Yes, but your work has to be checked by another ballistics guy, and you, Ray, can't say, I see three right hand twists and 2 lands in a groove or whatever. This is what I'm looking at." And the other expert, they're both experts, looks at it and said, "That's the gun." So now we've got the gun made. We have the nexus connecting the gun to this piece of garbage. And I went back and found one of his old girlfriends, and she said, he told me when we were underneath a bridge one night fishing, he said, I'll kill you like I did her." Ooh. And he had made other excited utterances to other people. So we were able to put the case together. We got a warrant for his arrest, and I had another informant set him up to come down to the corner where he was flying a sign, one of those, "I need food, send me money," or whatever. And this idiot came running out of the house like his butt was on fire to go get his money. And he fell down, got all handcuffed. And Phil Jeans learned about gravity that day.
Clumsy guy.
Well, no, he got stuffed. He got stuffed. I mean, you've killed somebody. I don't know if you're armed and you're not cooperating with what's supposed to be done. So, you're going to get handled the way that my men are going to be safe, and so am I. And remember me, and that was the end of it. And he went to court, and of course, Teresa's she had a sister that looks spooky similar to her, and Phil would always turn around in court and that little and he would just look at her and just smile. You just had to turn that knife one more time to the family. It's not enough that I killed your daughter. I got to be. So he's found guilty, come back for sentencing. He gets some time, and as he's walking out the door, of course he's handcuffed, and he turns, "I hope they get the right guy." And I thought, you know what? I can't hold anymore. I'm probably going to get thrown in jail for contempt. And I yelled out, "We already did." And the judge didn't say a word.
That's great.
And that was the end of it. But
what a prick.
Oh, yeah. But a prick is useful. He's not.
Yeah. What was wrong with him, Tim? What was his? Did he have a record?
He's complete. Oh yeah. He's a complete sociopath. I mean, he could kill your whole family and go eat a pizza. Just narcissistic sociopath. Very, very cold. I'm confident that if he would still be out there, he would have ended up being a serial killer of some kind.
Yeah, just no empathy at all. Like, we arrested a guy like that he was, his uncle caught him taking pictures of his daughter's, this kid's cousin, naked. She's like 5, 6, getting her in poses and stuff. And when we were booking him, he would, like you said, that sociopath. Like we found a little book, a manifesto book on him about the steps that must be taken to make this girl's name a slave to my penis, basically. Rougher language than that. And it was very, you wanted to kill the guy. It was like very disturbing. So I'm fingerprinting him, and he stops and he looks at me and he goes, "Is this hard for you?" And I was like, "I do this all the time. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Dealing with somebody like me." And he was just not shaken at all, just like conversational. I remember thinking, like, this might be my meeting with my first sociopath. Like, this kid it's people like that. That's the only time I ever thought that they should just be put down. It's like this, you're gonna do nothing for anybody forever, and we're gonna pay for it. And that's the justice. That's the way it has to be. We're not the judge, jury, and executioner out there, but when you run into people like that, it's just so disturbing that they exist and they're out there. Now I have 3 kids, so it's like memories like dealing with people like that are always in my head, and I have to battle that, when the kids are off with other people or doing things independently, knowing there are psychopaths out like that. It kind of drives me nuts, It's like we've seen too much.
Well, I handled sex offense cases for 2.5 years. I had everything from a 9-month-old baby with chlamydia to 93, and everything in between that you can imagine. I saw child pornography where a baby was still attached to the umbilical cord and a guy was masturbating on the child. Now, when you tell that, people go, no, that never happened. No. The stuff happens. It's there. It's out there. There are people that are just pure evil. And I'm telling these stories not as bravado. I'm telling them because there's cops out there that are listening to this. There's John Q. citizens that are listening to this, that if they ever need to talk, call me. I'll talk to you. I got time. I don't want to see anybody go over the edge. That's why at the beginning when I said I did this, that's why it's so important that you have to do your job 100% because you don't want that sociopath to get out because you did an illegal search. You did something stupid that they beat you in court, and now this guy's going to go out. Now, I know probably 15 years ago, the average child molester molests 125 kids. And that's not you 10 times, me 15, this one 18. 125 separate children because you get to the age that you're not sexually appealing to me anymore, so I have to replace you with somebody else. And now with these guys that have problem with their junk that doesn't work anymore, they take their little magic pill, and now their sex lives go into their 80s and they're still molesting because that thought doesn't go away. You're never going to change what they like sexually. You're never ever going to go. You're going to like adults. That's why, it was a couple of months ago, there's this new term out, MAPS. You know what that is?
Yeah, disgusting. Minor attractive person.
Yeah, you're not a deviant. You're not a sexual deviant. You're not a predator. You're not a pedophile. You're a minor attracted person. Now, I'll tell you what, I don't know what earth muffin, tree-hugging whale saver came up with that they're so concerned about what a rapist, child molesting person will do that they shouldn't have that nomenclature put on them. Their feelings get hurt. They're people too. Bullshit. They are predators. What they do to those little kids and what happens to those little kids for the remainder of their lives.
Yeah.
And now you're going to... Look, when you go to prison, you're not going to find a mint on your pillow. I hope when you get to prison as a molester, there's about 10 guys in there that look at you as the next piece of meat, and you're going to be spooning with somebody whether you want to or not. That's what you have coming.
Yeah, if they don't kill them right away, even prisoners don't like to be in their company. Those guys end up dead. That's
tragic.
Yeah, it's so tragic. But that's the big push. That's where we're headed. Unfortunately, in America, in a lot of these states, that's the reality. I'm a Christian. I go to church on Sundays. I have a moral code that I follow. I get it from God, from the Bible. As we unhinge ourselves from any kind of moral justice or law, 10 Commandments used to be on every courthouse. As we unhinge ourselves from truth. Now, drag queens doing full crotch spreads in front of your 5-year-old at the local elementary school in Texas, where all these unbelievably in Texas, you're intolerant if you don't allow that. This kind of insanity is unprecedented, but it's not unprecedented in societies that, like in every, I heard a historian talking the other day in a podcast I listened to where he said every society that is crumbling starts to screw around with perversion, with sex, with children. That's just what starts to happen. And like we're witnessing this. It's just unbelievable and very sad to me.
That's because people don't push back. You hear these things. In my estimation, it's my job. It's everybody's job to stand up and say, no, you're not a map.
Yeah.
You're not a map. You're a pervert. You're a deviant. I'm letting you know right now exactly what I think of you. You need to stand up and fight it. If you capitulate and you take it, then you embolden these people that come up with this stuff to keep pushing and keep pushing the boundaries and keep pushing the boundaries. And you got too many people now in this country that look at their shoe tops and nod in subservitude because they don't have the intestinal fortitude, the guts, the balls, whatever, to say what needs to be said. Now, you don't have to be, outrageous about it, but if you think I'm going to call some guy that just molested a 5-year-old little girl a map because I'm concerned about how he feels, you're nuts. It's not happening.
It's not happening with Tim Corbett for sure.
No, I mean, look, you're a full-grown adult. What you do behind your closed doors with your wife, your boyfriend, whatever, do I agree with a lot of the stuff? Absolutely not. Do I care as long as they're cooperating and that's what you want to do, have at it. But when I meet somebody, I don't go, Tim Corbett, complete heterosexual. It's none of your business. And I don't want to hear about you and what you do with whoever. Don't want to do it. But you gotta stand up. You just got to. It's this, I don't know if I'm a boy or a girl. Pull your pants out. If you got a dick, you're a dude. If you don't, you're a girl. It's pretty simple to me. Let's go on to a next problem.
Yeah, my wife and I personally are having an issue with our oldest child has been followed by Boston Children's her whole life. She had some significant issues. She was in the NICU for months. It was a very hard time for us, and what a great hospital it is. It's world-renowned. They now have a clinic where they're issuing puberty blockers and doing surgeries on children. And so we're in this like huge moral dilemma now where we're like, these people have been so helpful, but now they've allowed this clinic to exist. Other countries like England, they tried this and they got rid of it. They don't even do it anymore because they said it's too wild. It's not good. It's bad. They've determined it's bad. These are children. You know how your brain works. When you're a 15-year-old guy to your 21, it's a different brain. Till you're 28, you have different beliefs in a different brain. These people are mutilating. It's malpractice. I think we'll look back. I think doctors in the history of medicine will look back at this as a huge age of malpractice. This will be like the Tuskegee experiments. This will be like Nazis experimenting on humans. This is all going to be a huge tragedy. But like you said, standing up for what you believe, I wrote a big letter to our doctor, and I said, make this better for me. How can I still come here? Tell me you're not on board with this stuff. Like, tell me something. Like, I know that most of these doctors don't believe in it. They don't. But a lot of them are professors also, and they teach, and they're involved in other stuff. And if they say something, they're afraid they're going to be ostracized. But guess what? If you all say something, if you all stand up, and you're all the top doctors in your field, you'll be all set. You'll be okay. But people are, it takes some courage.
But you know what? What you just said is absolutely accurate, but you're going to be ostracized. So what? If you need another friend, get a dog. If you're doing what's right, then that's okay. And if some people don't like it, that means that I'm right. I'm standing up for something that is correct. How do you give up your morals? How do you give up your honesty for a paycheck? Tell me the difference between that and a prostitute that stands on the corner and flags you down and says, hey, $25 for this. What is the difference? She's trading a commodity, right? She's selling something.
Yeah.
And that's the only business in the world that you can sell the product, keep the product, very little maintenance on it, and it doesn't wear out. Prostitution, right?
Right.
True story. But when you're giving up what you truly believe in because somebody might not like it, and you may lose somebody that you consider a friend because they're really not a friend, then that's just the way it has to be. And you can look yourself in the mirror and go, I did the right thing. I'm protecting my 3 little kids. I'm protecting those kids I don't know. I'm protecting this grandma over here. I'm doing what needs to be done correctly and honestly. You're not always going to be number one on everybody's dance card. That's just the way it is. And
that's very true.
I don't know.
I heard somebody say along the lines of what you're saying recently, a doctor who is speaking out, and he basically said, something along the lines of, misquoting, of course, but what do you make? $250,000 a year? $250,000 a year? What's your integrity worth? He said, I would say it's priceless. Your integrity as a human and your beliefs and what you stand for is priceless. $250,000 is nothing to that. And believe me, if you do the right thing and you're clearly a gifted, a talented person, or you have convictions, other people will love that. You don't need to worry about where you're at getting rid of you because you'll get picked up somewhere else, so I'm not sure we got down this rabbit hole, Tim, but I like the way you think. I tell you that. Well,
a lot of people, when they get done talking to you, might need Dr. Phil, but I'll always tell you the truth. It may not be what you want to hear, but it'll be the truth. But, you are what you are. I mean, like I said, I made peace with one I am a long time ago. I'm never going to be a greeter at Walmart. I've seen myself naked, so I know the adult film industry doesn't want me. So here I am doing homicides.
Yeah. Well, you're in a good place for your skill set. Absolutely. Tim, can you tell us a heartwarming encounter as a police officer? Dare I ask?
Oh, God, there's been so many of them over the years, just a lot of times just doing little things for people. We had, this goes back to a cold case homicide. We had a guy and a lady, that's the wrong word, a guy and a female, that they killed a woman. That was like a 32-year-old case. She was 4.5 months pregnant, walking her dog, and they stopped their van, and the woman had her 6-year-old kid in the back of the van. Guy gets out, grabs this lady. You got a cigarette? No. You got any money? No. Grabs her, slams her into the van a couple of times, throws her in the back of the van, and tells the woman, kill that bitch, kill that bitch. That's what she's saying. She picked up about a 3-pound hammer, what we believe, and killed this woman. And this little 6-year-old boy is in the back of the van, and he feels blood hitting him. And he said to this day that if he smells blood, he gets sick. That same little boy was molested by the guy that grabbed the woman. Ugh. Now, I got that case when I was doing sex offenses, I don't know, a few months after this happened. This case went unsolved for 28, 30 years, 32 years, whatever it was. It was an extremely long time. And I put together the case on this guy. His name was George Edward Kearney. He died a very horrible death. We watched it on video as he died laid in the county jail and took his last breath gasping. But I'm sure he's in hell, front row with a gasoline overcoat on. But he molested this little boy. He performed oral sex on him at knife point. Now, this same little boy is 6 years old. We were able to rescue him and his sister away from the garbage mother, who's in prison also. But the garbage mother would, she'd have the flavor of the week. Hey, kids, this is Steve. He's my boyfriend, whatever. And, there's a kid, you want to beat him up, you want to molest him, do what you want to do. You're out in a month. Hey, this is my boyfriend, Tim. It was just a revolving door of beatings for those kids and molestings. It was an ugly, horrible situation. But after we started putting this case together, now this boy it was 6 years old at the time, is now like 30 years old, a little older, and he remembered me. He remembered me from helping him. And that kid, he wasn't a kid, he's 30-some years old. He could go back, and when he started telling this story, he said, tell me what happened. And you could just see something come over him, and he just said, and he would look down, he goes, I remembered my mom, and she would, and blood hitting me. And I mean, this kid was there reliving it, and he spoke just how I'm speaking. And the reason why that kid told that story, he remembered me, and he remembered what we did, and he still trusted us from back that many years ago. Yeah. And he came and testified and said, my mom and George Edward Kearney, that's what they did, convicted.
Wow. That's amazing.
So, heartwarming, ugly, tragic things that happened, but able to save that kid and rescue him from that. But will he ever be able to block out what he's seen? No.
Man, God bless that kid. That's amazing that he could do that. Tim, we have a lot of police officers or potential police officers that listen to the show. I've had emails before about people who were on the fence, but they've heard officers like you, commanders like you speak, and it's pushed them over. And I get emails that say, hey, I'm in police academy, which is like the best email I ever get, is like, I'm in police academy because of the people I hear on your show, which I think is so cool. Do you have some words of wisdom for people thinking about getting into law enforcement, or maybe you're on the fence because of the climate of what's happening?
Well, first off, the climate's probably going to get knocked on their butt tonight after 6 o'clock because I think there's going to be a big red wave and there's going to be,
God willing,
some D's in the corner sucking their thumbs. It's the most honorable job you can have. It truly is. I would never be a fireman. The reason why, you're not putting Tim Corbett up on a building to chop a hole in to save it. I would be the guy that would go talk to you and say, sir, do you have insurance on this thing? Because this thing's getting ready to burn. So, being a policeman, it's the most honorable thing you can do to serve your family, the public, yourself. I wish I could go back and start all over. Now, in this climate, I'd probably last about 5 minutes because it's the first time somebody calls me a name, I'm probably going to, revert back to the old days and punch them in the face.
Tim, you're hurting too many feelings.
Oh, good. Then I'm doing it right. It's a dangerous job. Don't let anybody tell you that, it's all rainbows and lollipops. You could go out on your first call and get shot and killed. It could be over in 5 minutes.
Right.
The things that you're going to be able to do, the things you're going to be able to see is going to make a better person out of you. I personally don't care what your skin pigmentation is. I don't care what your plumbing is. I don't care about any of that. Be a good, honest cop. If you're a dirty cop, anybody that knows that, they should burn your butt because you just spit on every good cop's badge. You spit on every dead cop's badge. You spit on the citizens. You're a coward and you're useless as far as I'm concerned. Do it. Don't listen to these, tree-hugging, whale-saving earth muffins that don't have the courage to do our job. All they can do is sit back and cry and whine, but the first time something happens, they're going to want somebody like you and I to be there.
Right.
Don't listen to them. Do the job the way you know it needs to be done. To me, it's like 9/11, People, they went and signed up right away because they wanted to do the right thing. Do the right thing. What they're trying to do is get you to capitulate. They're trying to get you to back up. They're trying to get you to listen to all the garbage that's not, it falls on deaf ears with most people because they're smart enough to be able to filter through all the crap.
Right.
We're needed. Defund the cops, you're an idiot. No cash bail, you're an idiot. Feeling sorry for all these people and putting cocoa butter on their butts and telling them what a terrible life you have, you're an idiot. You made clear conscious decisions to do the criminal acts that you did, and you have earned the right to receive what you get. So don't fall for that stuff. They want to breed out the male testosterone out of every testosterone. They want to get you to back up and not be a man, not be a woman, and not do the right things. I'm telling you, when women first came on, when I was on the department, say, we don't want women. I didn't care as long as you could do the job, but
sure,
criteria needs to be the same for everybody. Men, women, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, European. I don't care if you got an arm coming out of the middle of your chest. You got to be able to do the job and get the same criteria for you as it is for me. I've never believed in the term superior officer or subordinate officer. I don't think I'm superior or subordinate to anybody. Nothing but a man. That's all you are. Nothing but a woman. That's all you are. But just sign up. Go in, show these punks what it's all about.
I love it. Words of wisdom from Tim Corbett. So I love what you just said. Tim, how can people get a hold of you if they want to enlist your services for investigations and stuff like that? 574-229-8115. That's my direct cell, and I want to be straight with you, Steve. I want to be straight with everybody who's listening. I'm not here for a commercial for Tim Corbett. I'm here for a commercial for policemen to let you know that people care about you. There's that percentage that doesn't like us, but who cares what they think anyway? Most people love us. They need us. They want us. Be a part of it. And if there's any cops out there or that you're having problems with something, questions, something I can help you with, call me. There's no charge for that. I'll answer what I can, or I'll find an answer for you. I'll do what I can to help. And I truly mean that. So I'm not hard to find. Just don't get my number mixed up with some 900 sex number and you think I'm going to talk dirty to you for $1.99 because I'm at least $2.25. He's got standards, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. I'm not cheap.
That's awesome. I'll put that I'll put the link to your website in the show notes. It'll be on the website as well. And I'll put your phone number if you want in the show notes so people can give you a call.
Absolutely.
Tim, thank you so much. It's an honor to have you on. I would love to have you back And my idea would be maybe an episode just about the mechanics and the steps for cold cases. If you're willing down the road, if you'd like to come, I'd love to have you back.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if and again, this isn't a commercial, but on my website for Corbett Investigations, there's a thing called Killer Catchers. I did about, 15, 17 podcasts about cold case murders. You can look at that. And
no kidding. That's awesome.
Of victims come in and, get a perspective about how victims' families feel. And you'll see people on there that will go how well they were treated and how much they appreciate it. So when you're hearing, the one yipping over here that's a Gen X or whatever they are, discount that and listen to what's on that podcast and how these people really feel about us. You're loved.
That's awesome. I love it. Tim, I'm going to put you back in the green room for a moment to the outro. Okay. And can you hang on the line for a second?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Tim Corbett. Wow. I really want to have him back. Cold cases are fascinating to me. Back when I was a natural resource officer, I'll never forget, we had 2 state police detectives show up at our station, and they were doing a cold case from like the 70s about a murder that occurred in a cranberry bog that we had control of. And ever since then, I just thought that was so cool. So Tim's obviously highly credentialed investigator. His company CTAC would be a great option if you want to go and get some experts in the field on your side. Guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for all the 5-star reviews, as I said before. Now is a time in the show when I thank the Patreon sergeants for their dedicated dedication to the show. I love you guys. I'm talking about the great Tom Connell, Dennis, because he only put his first name, Andrew Proctor, Luke Ervig, George Tessier, or Zip, depending how well you know him, Daniel from the Motocrop Chronicles, Ilian Rogers, Greg Gaboy, sorry.